There we go. Hi, everybody. So in terms of that sitemap issue, for the purpose of the project, if that homepage name isn't showing the way you want, don't worry about it. In the real world, you probably would pick a different plugin or not do a sitemap. But don't worry about that. That's trivial. I'm not worried about that.
There's a menu right above it that says home. So if somebody really wants to get to your home site.
Don't worry about that sitemap home thing. It's not worth spending time to try to fix it just for the project. Now, if you want to use it in the future and you want to, be able to do a certain thing, then I can help with that. But I'm not going to worry about it for the project. What was the name of that plugin? What was it called? WP Sitemap or something simple like that?
Something simple like that. And
I would say don't use that plugin in the future.
The value of it is that it did allow me to through yellow pencil, change the bullets and the headers to match, and it instantly puts up in a really nice organization all your posts, which to me seems like that could be a logistical nightmare. So I like that there's one place that you can find every post you have.
Yeah, and that's nice. That's kind of the point of a sitemap. Exactly. So so maybe that plugin is a pretty good one as long as you don't worry about the homepage thing.
And you can find that off the menu, which is 1 inch above the sitemap.
I was using it and I don't have an issue with the name of my homepage on it.
Well, that's probably because your title is what you want it to be in the sitemap.
Oh, maybe. Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure pretty much all the site mapping tools, almost all of them I've ever seen, they grab the text from the title, not the H1.
Not the name of the not the menu name or whatever.
The title tag of the web page, the HTML title tag in the head section. And they all pretty much grab the title because that makes sense, right? I mean, the title, you're titling what the page is about. So that makes the most sense. Whereas in theory, you could have multiple headlines on the page for different sections that would cover different topics. The title is the overall, this is what the entire page is about. So it makes sense that the title is the descriptive text that the sitemap plugin wants to use. That's the way I would do it, right?
But it's actually, when I looked at the homepage in the source code on Firefox where I could read the whole source code, it's using a PHP script to grab your theme title.
Theme title? You mean page title?
Whatever you've chosen in your theme to be your title.
No. I'm talking about the title of a specific web page, not your theme.
No, but that's what it's using for the homepage title is what you've chosen.
Oh, is that what the plugin is doing? Only for the homepage?
Well, no, that's what the theme is doing. When you read the homepage, you see that. It also picks the static page and it puts it in an H1 in a content ID with a class. So, but the sitemap plugin, I think, reads that content in pages when you have the pages listed.
Oh, okay, I'm a little confused here. There's apples and oranges going on here. Forget the theme. Forget the theme for a second. I'm assuming the sitemap plugin is grabbing the title from the individual web pages, including the homepage. That would make sense.
But when you look at the home,
okay, so stop. That makes sense for what the plugin's doing. End of story on plugin. Stop.
Right.
Now you're talking about theme, nothing to do with plugin. Let's just keep this really clear.
Right.
You're conflating the two. I don't want them conflated. It's going to confuse people. The plugin grabs the title tag from the individual web pages. End of story. Now what you're saying is this theme you're using does something with the title. Okay, so now continue. Sorry.
So when you look at the page online in the Google or whoever,
when you say look at the page, are you talking about a specific page?
When you look at the script, the source code of what you're seeing on the screen for the home page.
Okay, for the home page. Okay, just trying to be clear. Okay.
It's got a script that makes the title in the head section of the home page, forget about what the sitemap does, read the theme's title.
Now I understand. Exactly. Now, not all themes do that. Okay. So this is specific to whatever theme you're looking at. Okay. So this theme, the authors of this theme have chosen to make it easy for you. No, seriously, they probably did this as a convenience, saying, okay, we're just going to take the title of the theme and put that in your homepage. I think it's a dumb thing to do. I wouldn't do it myself if I was writing that theme. But the authors of this theme, in their infinite wisdom, decided they would make it easy for you by just taking care of the title of your homepage for you. That's not a decision I would have made, and I see why it's confusing, and I see what you're saying. So I get why it's weird. Now it's all become clearer. So I would, yeah, I would just question the wisdom of that theme because that's a weird thing to do. And maybe some other themes do that too, but that's not the way I would write the theme. I would assume the author of the site would want to title the homepage the way they'd want to title the homepage. But, you know, the theme people might be a little conceited and they want your homepage to be titled with their theme name. That might also be, and I'm just speaking off the hip here, I don't really know. It might be something that the free version of the theme does. It inserts its name in the title of your homepage because it's free and they want to do that. And it might be that the premium theme lets you not do that. Again, I'm guessing. I have no idea on this particular theme, but I could see that that could be in operation too here. So thank you, Anne. That's really illustrative of what is probably.
It sort of made sense to me because when both in programming and using PHP, I have a script that takes whatever I have in my title for the page, the first H1 in my page, and match that. So the script just says, okay, whatever your H1 is, that's repeated both on the page and in the title behind the scenes.
And that makes some sense. That makes some sense because in theory, in general, your H1 is descriptive of the page as the title's supposed to be. But there are reasons that the title text is not necessarily going to be the same thing as the H1 because it's got a different function. And so the title tag is metadata, so it doesn't show up on the actual page, and the H1 is data, so it shows up on the page. So there's different functions here. Now the data may be the same in both cases, but the metadata and the data aren't necessarily the same thing. And so also because the title shows up in the bookmark list, you want to be a little more careful about the title text than maybe the H1. So maybe the H1 in the context of the web page makes a lot of sense, but maybe that text in your H1 isolated from the rest of the text and just seen on its own in a bookmark list, maybe the H1 text is not exactly what would be perfect for that. So sometimes you do want a different title text than H1 text. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your H1 is just headlining a whole page, but just a page. Whereas if it's your home page, the title of your home page is essentially how your site is bookmarked. And so the title of your home page specifically is very important text. Because if people are going to bookmark your site, they're most likely going to bookmark the home page. And that's to the user looking at that list of bookmarks, that's going to be the description of your entire website, not just one page.
And
So
I think the theme
there's different context here, you know.
I think the theme calls, when you're picking that, it calls it your site identity.
Yeah, and the theme is so the theme is choosing to take that text and make it the title of your homepage. And again, not a decision I probably would have made as somebody authoring a theme, but you know, that's what they did. And yeah, I don't know why.
And I don't know that anybody else would look for that unless you look under the hood and read the source code when it comes up.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to check when you're comparing themes to see how it deals with that. That's interesting. I'm going to start paying attention to that when I look at themes. I'm going to say, how's it doing the title of my homepage? Is it making this stuff up out of its own stuff, or is it going to use my headline, or what's it doing here?
But you really have to look under the hood to find that.
Yeah. Well, an easy way to see what the title text actually is bookmark your own page and look at your bookmark list. Then you'll see what the title is right off the bat.
Oh.
No, clever.
Right. So even though WordPress hides you, a lot of that hides from you, a lot of that metadata and that coding, because that's metadata and WordPress hides all the metadata, right? Hides the head section completely. Even though WordPress does that, it's quite a simple matter to just bookmark the page and look at your bookmark list and there's the title of the page. So if you ever want to know what the title of a page is, just bookmark it and look at the list.
Wow.
Yeah, and that tells you what the actual title is, even though WordPress hides it.
Okay.
And it is common to have on most pages the H1 text and the title text to be pretty much the same. So that is a kind of a programming shortcut to grab whatever the H1 is and stick it in the title. That's common. Some other programs, not WordPress, but some other programs like, well, I haven't used Dreamweaver in this way in a while, but Dreamweaver used to do this. If you didn't have a title, it would take the file name, which is kind of like, blah.html, and make that your title or something. If it's stupid, but,
That's even weirder.
Yeah, but for lack of anything there, it would just do that, it would start that way and then you go in and change it, but yeah. So. Interesting tidbits on titles and themes. Title and theme tidbits, TTT.
I have a couple little questions.
Shoot.
One is, I noticed that in this site and also the site that I started for my daughter, it has something called must-use plugins. In the when you go to the plugin list,
Mm-hmm.
It says how many are active, how many are inactive, how many plugins you have, and then the last thing it says on the top is must use, and I clicked on that and it has 2 plugins that are not in my plugin list.
That's it. You want to take a look at that? Yeah, why don't you share that? Let's take a look at that. Let's see what that's all about.
Okay, let me just get the page, plugins page.
So the question that immediately is raised in my mind from what you just said is, are these plugins actually integrated enough with the theme that the theme is essentially packaging them and not giving you the opportunity to turn them off? So there's a gray area, and again, this is conjecture until we take a look at this. The gray area is between whether it's a, quote, plugin proper or part of the theme proper. Seems like, from what you just said, it seems like the theme has kind of incorporated them in without giving you the opportunity to turn them off because it's now integrated in the theme.
Well, and then I also looked at a website that I was working on for a friend, and he has the same thing, but one of his must-use plugins is different. So you see my screen?
I do see your screen.
Okay, yes. So see here, it says all active and must use above.
Right, and it says 2. And if you click on must use, what does it show you?
So yeah, it's got these, and for the SSO thing, it doesn't even say what it is, or I don't know if it's the same as SEO or similar to SEO or something else, but endurance page cache, it says what the purpose of it is, and you can disable it or purge the cache. But I mean, and whoever Mike Hansen is, maybe he's the author of the theme or something.
I do
just curious
not know.
about whether you've ever seen it before.
Well, I assume it says Garth and Mike wrote this SSO plugin. Doesn't give you any information, huh?
No, well, it tells you what folder it's in. So if you looked in your cPanel or something, you could find the folder, but that doesn't. I was just curious to know if you knew anything about it. If not, then
I don't know anything about it other than what I'm seeing. But it sounds like they just this is part of your theme essentially.
Okay.
Now I don't know what happens if you quote disable a must-use plugin for your theme, because I do see it's allowing you to disable it. But But okay, so a page cache. So look what it does. This cache plugin is primarily for cache purging of additional layers of cache that may be available on your hosting account. Okay, so caching is tricky. There are different levels of caching, and the browser caching is only one level of caching. Okay. So the act of caching is just keeping something in memory so that it doesn't have to spend extra time and bandwidth to re-download or re-get whatever information it's storing in memory. Now, okay, so the browser does its own level of caching, right? So that's the simplest to understand.
Yeah.
When you load a web page, right, the browser downloads all the images, downloads the style sheet, downloads all your text, blah, 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 renders the page, right? Now, the images and the style sheets are usually cached more than the page, right? So let's say that you are a web developer and you edit a page, you make a change to the page, and then you upload the page with changes, and then you go to your web browser and you view that page on the internet.
Right.
Well, usually the browser will re-download the page, but may or may not re-download the images and the style sheet. Images take up a lot of memory compared to text, right, or style sheets, which are text. So the images, it's an efficient technique to cache the images. So the browser holds onto the images, and you load the page again, and the browser goes, well, I already have dog.gif, and I already have, you know, girl.jpg and so forth, so it doesn't bother re-downloading them because it's the exact same file according to the browser, and so it just doesn't re-download those and reloads the text of the page, right? But the images might be cached. So you may not notice that maybe you edited an image and uploaded it, and it's not showing the new image. And so that's not uncommon. But what really screws you up as a web developer is the caching of the style sheet. Now, I have had a hell of a time getting browsers like Chrome to simply reload the style sheet after I edit it, right? So let's say I have a file called styles.css, and I make some changes to that file. I re-upload it to my CSS folder, and I go to the page in the browser, and I just say reload. You know, I click on the reload button, or I do a Command R to reload the page. And it reloads the page, and it's still showing me the old styles. And I'm like, why is it showing me the old styles? I changed the style sheet. And then I'll, like, you know, knowing me, you know me, so first thing I do is go to the validator. I look at the style sheet through the validator, and it shows the old style. So I'm like, oh, it's still using the old style sheet, but I already replaced it. The old style sheet's not even there anymore because it's been written over. So that tells you right off the bat, that's proof positive that the browser's just still caching the old style sheet. It didn't re-download the style sheet because it didn't feel like it needed to, because it's still called the same name and the same folder. And that's common caching behavior on the browser's end, right? Now, by the way, I actually add a little, and this drives me nuts, and you may have or may not have noticed this, but this can drive you nuts. So I have a little piece of code that I attach to the link statement that links to the style sheet that basically forces it to reload the style sheet when it reloads the page. Now, you wouldn't want to keep that code on there after your development work is done because caching is an efficiency technique. But while you're developing pages, it's a really good idea to make sure that browser is re-downloading the style sheet, not caching the old one, because you're changing it while you're working on it. So now that's just browser caching. Now, what I think this is referring to, if you look at the wording, it says available on your hosting account. Now, servers do caching. Google does caching. There's a lot of caching at the server level.
Wow.
So sometimes, and let's say you have an account on, I'm just making this up. Let's say you have a GoDaddy account, right? And I have no idea exactly what GoDaddy does, but this is fairly common, right? For a lot of large hosts. So you have this page on GoDaddy and well, actually, let's forget it's your page. Let's say it's another page. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. You, okay, well, actually, let's stick with GoDaddy for a minute. So GoDaddy let's say GoDaddy is your web host, right? So you are using GoDaddy's domain name server, right? So whenever you type in a URL, what happens? It doesn't go directly to that page. It has to get the IP address of the page. Everything is translated to IP address, right? So you type in blah.com, enter, right? The browser goes, I want that page. The browser makes a request. Where does it go first? It goes to the domain name server. It's going to go to your host's domain name server, right? There are thousands, millions of domain name servers, right? So when you buy a hosting account, what you're also getting besides web hosting and email is you're using the domain name server of your host. So the browser sends a request to your domain name server. Okay, well, let me backtrack. I misspoke. It's not, in this context, it's not your web host server. We'll get there in a minute. It's your internet service provider's domain name server. So when you buy an internet account, Cruise.io or something, one of the things that happens when you first set up your account is your computer knows an IP address of a domain name server. That might be transparent to you. You might not never put that in there manually. It might all be automatic when your router goes and connects to Cruise.io the first time, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you put it in there manually when you first set up your ISP account. There are different ways. But at any rate, what happens is you type in this address, blah.com, in the browser window. The browser first goes to the ISP's domain name server and says, I need the IP address for this. The domain name server has a cached list of domain names and IP addresses, right? And it says, oh yeah, here's the IP address, throws it back to the browser. Well, actually just redirects to that page, and then the browser gets the page based on the IP address supplied by the domain name server. Now, the domain name servers, there are levels of domain name servers all the way up to the top level domain name servers, which are the things that are really the linchpin in running the whole internet. If you want to take down the whole internet, all you have to do is take down these servers. Now, there used to be a dozen of the top level domain name servers in the entire world. Then it was like 15. I don't know what the number is now. But the top level domain name servers have all the information from ICANN, which is the agency that runs all the registrars. So that's the definitive list. But there are millions and millions and millions of these transactions every second with people clicking on links and trying to go to web pages. So it would be inefficient for them to all go to those top level servers because everything would fall apart. So there's a whole series of servers between your ISP and the top level domain servers of ICANN. And so your ISP's domain name server periodically contacts the ICANN, the server up the chain from it to get new listings. And there might be several layers all the way up to the top level servers. And everything is cached in between. So I want to go to a page, blah.com. I put my request in. My browser sends the request to the domain name server of my ISP. The domain name server of my ISP goes, huh, no one's ever requested that page from me before, so I don't have that cached. So the ISP's domain name server goes, I got to talk to my boss. And it makes a request to the domain name server, the next level up from it, and says, I need the domain name, I need the IP address for this domain name. That server goes, oh, I've never had that before. It goes up, and then finally it comes back down the chain, right? So each server in that chain, once it gets a request like that and gets the IP address, it holds it in memory, it caches it. And maybe it caches it for a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 6 hours. I mean, it all depends on how they're configured and how often that address may be requested. So at any given moment, that caching is always going on. And that's one of the reasons when you make changes to your domain name record, it said it might take, up to 48 hours to percolate through the system before it actually functions right, because it's all this caching that's going on. And it may be a day or two before all the caching on all the levels is flushed out. So, so there's that level of caching. Now, sorry, this is a long explanation, but I want you to understand the process. Now, the host can also be caching with their own servers for efficiency of their own bandwidth, right? Because they're all trying to save money, right? So GoDaddy has, millions of requests a second for web pages, whatever, right? So when you are hosted on, let's say you're hosted on GoDaddy, I'll keep using an example, right? GoDaddy hosts your pages, right? So ultimately, when somebody makes a request of a page of yours, it goes through this little thing, the song and dance I just explained, and ultimately it goes to a GoDaddy web host to get your page, right? GoDaddy's hosting can also be caching as an efficiency technique. So this is where what they call a virtual host comes into play. They may be going through a server that's simply a server that caches the pages that you have made. And so your changes aren't immediately reflected if somebody's going to your page, because the GoDaddy server is actually serving a cached page of your page and not reloading your page and sending it down to the browser each time. Now, what this plugin looks like it's doing, sorry, that was a long explanation to get to the answer. What this plugin looks like it's doing, it looks like it's saying, we're going to force your host to not cache the page, but to show you a new version of the page, right? That's what it looks like it's doing. And there's different ways you can do that at the server level. It might be tweaking the address and this would be all transparent to you, you wouldn't see this. It might be tweaking the address for each request so that the GoDaddy server in this example wouldn't cache it, because it would see it as a new page, a different page than it had previously cached, because maybe there's something a little different about it in terms of how the address is structured. So that's what it looks like this plugin is doing. It's saying, we don't want your pages served from a cache. We want your pages served fresh. Now that's a trade-off, because it will take milliseconds longer to serve and won't be as efficient. But this plugin is doing that. That's my reading of this plugin. That's my understanding of what it's doing. So sorry about the long explanation.
Well, yeah, I thought it was a quick
Is that helpful? Does that make sense to you?
Somewhat. Mostly, I guess.
But the caching thing is generally really a positive thing most of the time. It's a negative thing when you're doing development work and you're making constant changes to something and you want to see those changes reflected right away, not a cached page. And you're like, hey, what happened? Where's my change? And sometimes you can force the browser to reload it, sometimes you can't, and then you're screwed. But if you're ever having trouble and you think that the browser is caching your style sheet, which is very common, very common, especially with Chrome, then it's a little more of a hassle. But when you make significant changes and you really want to make sure you see them reflected, then you just create a style sheet with another name, styles2.css, and then you change your link statement to styles2.css, and then it's a quote new style sheet, even though you basically copied the old one and changed its name, so that the browser just reloads it automatically. It won't cache it because it's never had that style sheet before. So sometimes you have to revert to that trickery. Again, I found a block of code that I just added a link statement that forces the browser to reload. It's a
oh gosh, I had a website with something like that happen where no matter what I did, it would not load the old style sheet.
Right, exactly.
And I had to
You
copy
mean the new style sheet. You mean the new style sheet.
Yeah, but it wouldn't, yeah, but then when I changed things and it wouldn't load the old name, and so I had to put in a new name.
You mean it wouldn't load the new style sheet?
No,
I'm not sure what you mean.
It wouldn't show the changes in the old one anymore.
Right. Exactly, because it's caching it. Yeah. It's not re-downloading it. It's just holding it in memory and redisplaying the same stuff.
I was wondering about that. I mean, even though it was like the next day and I had like shut down everything and cleared the browser cache and deleted files in Fetch and then put them back again, and it still wouldn't load the style sheet with the old name.
Well, let me stop the sharing for a second.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to let me see if I can find this little block of code. You might find it handy. Let me give me a minute here. I know I'm not sharing yet. I just want to kind of find it. because I got so disgusted with the browser caching that I said, okay, I'm going to find some code to defeat it, which of course is easy to find. And where did I put that code? I usually save my snippets in a folder called code snippets, but I didn't do that this time, and I should have, because now I have to just go back to the server and find it. But actually, that's a good idea. If you're a geek at all, if you're a hand coder, you may collect lots of handy code snippets, especially PHP, but all kinds of code snippets. You may find them extremely useful to reuse over and over again. And let me see if I can find this. Let's see. Here we go. I think this is going to work. I don't know if you can see my screen. Oh, my video's processed. Good. Let's put that over there. Here it is. So if you add this little code to your link, brackets, okay.
I don't see it.
I'm waiting to launch it. Oh, wait, I have it in a PHP include. Oops, sorry. Let me get the include.
Of course.
If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. I think I put it in my, it's an include because all my top stuff is in the include. So let me get back. Yeah, so when you, I'll tell you, PHP includes are such a godsend. Oh my God, they save you so much time. Of course, if you're doing WordPress, it doesn't matter, but this is for non-WordPress sites.
Amen to that.
Huh?
Amen to that. I love
Yeah,
include.
those of you who might have taken the Web Publishing 3 class some years ago might remember PHP includes.
It's also kind of interesting to take the PHP programming class. You get to create your own database. And it's interesting to learn how those databases work. That's the back end of these things.
Yeah, so obviously, see, there's an include statement here that that include statement grabs text from another file, which is the top.php file, because that's my top. So let me just look. This is where the link statement is. So the bottom line is this link statement is really worth gold to me. Is it going to? Everything seems to be a little on the slow side. Come on, folks, let's open it. There it is. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that line of code.
Yeah.
That's a PHP line of code. So this would only work if your pages are using PHP. But what we're doing here is, here's the standard link to my style sheet, styles.css. But by adding this question mark, this is called this kicks off what's called a query statement. And a query statement is something you can add to a URL that doesn't change the page address, but it simply adds more information to the URL, in a sense metadata, so that it looks like a new URL each time it loads. So what this does is it echoes the date and actually not just the date, but the hours and seconds. So basically every time the page is loaded, it reloads the style sheet automatically without caching the old one. So finding that little block of code has saved me a lot of hassle. Now, when I'm done developing this site, I will remove that. But in the meantime, it's really handy when you're developing a site to force a reload of the style sheet every time it's loaded and not have to play games with the browser to try to make it reload, blah, blah, blah.
So that date is not literally his, but hours.
It's like hours and seconds or something. Yeah, it's a PHP. It's a PHP argument. I can't remember. It's a date and time format argument. You could look it up.
I thought first it was a reference to a word. It's not. It's reference to a date statement.
No, it's a date format.
Yeah.
So it says echo date, which simply means show the date. But then the argument, so in PHP or most programming languages, the quotation mark, the parentheses indicate an argument to modify the date, in this case, the date. Yeah, very handy. Stuff like this will save you hours. Anyway, sorry, that's not really a WordPress issue, but and neither is that. So we'll just move on.
Thank you.
And that made sense to some of you, and maybe if it didn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. It's geeky stuff. Okay, what other questions you got? Or I don't even know. Did I answer a question there, or are we still having? I can't even remember. I get on these.
Sort of. Yeah, basically. Yeah, enough.
Okay,
enough.
good. I want to give you full explanations, so that you get the understanding of what's behind the explanation. So sometimes I get a little talkative.
Here's another one.
My website theme has the same 2 ones in it for. So I think it may be just something that generally defaults to.
Yeah, as I said, a lot of hosts will do their own system of caching to save the wear and tear on their own servers and their own bandwidth. And there is a logic to that, and there's efficiency to that. But at the same time, you may not want you may want your pages to be freshly loaded each time, depending on your site.
It might also be Host Monster, because I noticed that another website that I was working on that was a different host had a different, it didn't have that endurance cache thing. It had a different one, but it also had that SSO thing. And I just looked up that SSO plugin, and it had something to do with single sign-on. I don't know what that means, but I could look into that later. I don't need to talk about it more, but
yeah, that can mean a lot of things. Single sign-on. That, I mean, like, there are all kinds of systems, like you're logged into Facebook, for example, and then you go to some other platform that has nothing to do with Facebook, and they'll be like, oh, just log in with your Facebook login, click here, and you don't have to do login again because it's using the credentials supplied by Facebook. And so there's a lot of single sign-on kind of schemes. And quite frankly, I don't like them, because I just don't. Ultimately, it makes everything you do totally trackable, and I prefer to type in logins and passwords when necessary, rather than sign into Facebook and then everywhere I go log in with Facebook or log in with Google. I'm already tracked to death. I don't need to hand them over my information on the silver platter. But your mileage may vary. It's convenience. It's convenience versus privacy in a sense. And we consciously give up our private information for the sake of convenience. I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's a trade-off. And most people like the convenience, and they don't really see what's happening when they give up the privacy, because it's given up in tiny little bits and pieces. But ultimately, it forms a complete picture of you to somebody else trying to sell you products. And that's fine for a lot of people, because, hey, they like seeing tailored ads to them when they go to a website and they see hey, you can buy this document shredder for $5. And you're like, how did Amazon know that? Oh my God, maybe I searched on document shredder 3 days ago on some other site. How do they know that? And some people like that. I find it creepy, but we're all different.
Okay, here's another general question that might pertain to everybody here. Why is it that every time I look at a new theme and then I test it, it looks nothing like the demo? Every single time.
Agreed.
Is that a rhetorical question or a question?
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that I have to test them and see what features they have. Does it let you choose different typefaces? Does it let you change the sizes of the headings? Does it let you, without having to want to install yellow pencil, now that I know about it, on every site? But why is it, how can you test theme? How can you check out a theme when the demo doesn't look anything like?
To be honest with you, you're right. And to be honest with you, that's why I usually just install the theme and look at it. I mean, I just install it and look at it. And then you get the real deal. That's what it really looks like. Because the demo is just that, and it's not necessarily I mean, who knows when the demo was created? I mean, you know, which version of the theme? I mean, you know, so it's not, it's fairly trivial to just, you know, install a theme and look at it.
I
So,
found the live preview came pretty close. It did let you change a lot of things, fuss around with it, and make it yours. It brought over a lot of your stuff without you actually having to make it part of your, make it yours, so that it didn't take away anything you already have on your site.
so one of the things that I do, because, you know, you guys are probably getting the idea that I'm a geek and I have lots of domain names and so forth. Just set up a dummy WordPress site. Set up a WordPress site just for the purpose of evaluating themes. Don't even use that site except for that, or maybe evaluating themes with plugins. I mean, and not mess around with your own site. So it's pretty trivial to do. It's and if you have any kind of a decent account, you can set up multiple WordPress installations. So, and it doesn't even have to be a different domain name. You can set up 2 WordPress installations on the same domain name. One can be in a subdirectory that's never touching the other one. So even if you only have one domain name, and if your hosting service is a decent one and not the super cheapo account, you can set up an extra WordPress installation and just use it for testing. Just use it for evaluating themes and plugins. I mean, that's generally what I do, just because I always have weird stuff going on. So that's probably easier than, you know, looking at the I mean, the demos are fine to look at. I do that too, but really what's going to make the difference, what's going to tell you the real deal is use the theme, right? As you notice, the demo is not always exactly what the theme really looks like or works like. So, because it can't be, it's a demo. The only way to simulate the real deal is to do the real deal. It's kind of like sometimes you can kind of simulate what something's going to look like on a phone by making the window really narrow. And then there's even websites where they have simulators. So you click on this, it shows you what it looks like on the iPhone and stuff like that. Again, they're demos, they're simulators. The only thing that's really going to show you what it looks like on the iPhone is to look at it on an iPhone, right? So to the degree that you can do real testing as opposed to, you know, the simulated stuff, always better, always better.
Okay.
But your observation is correct. Oh, yeah.
I have a question along the similar line that we were just kind of talking about. One of the websites that I'm admin on, we have a whole test environment set up, like test server and everything.
Nice.
And we also host on Pantheon, if anybody else is looking for different options. And our webmaster chose Pantheon because they have phenomenal customer support. She's like, I won't use anybody else because
that's my deal, customer support.
Right, yeah. And I don't know why I didn't think of it until just now, because you were saying that was such a big thing, but that's why she does this for a living, and she maintains a couple of different websites professionally. So she won't really use anything else, and I don't think they're super expensive, but she set up this like test environment to load in like any updates or anything like that. And she hasn't really been as, because we're all volunteers doing this, so she hasn't had as much time to kind of do updates. So we need to do some updates. So she kind of gave me like a very short crash course in this. So I'm hoping that I can kind of teach myself how to update in the testing environment and then push it to live. I know that's kind of beyond the scope of this, but you're kind of mentioning that. Do you recommend that extent, or for her it was easy, but I mean, it seems like what you just suggested is a lot easier to maintain and set up, but is that normal? Is that standard?
Oh yeah, that is actually having a whole testing environment, like for a site like Cabrios, for example. Oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And any large company that's, you know, doing it the right way, absolutely.
And our site is kind of big, like it has a lot on it, so that's why, and it's not just like 1 or 2 pages, it's a pretty, you know, pretty hefty site.
Yep.
So I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, and you don't want it to break.
Right.
So the two things about the testing and the support. So the support, absolutely 100% agree. That's my #1 criterion. That's my #1 concern. And to me, if the support is good and you can call a person on the telephone, not the online chat, not email, on the telephone, real time, real person, live, not like some stupid AI interface that makes you answer a bunch of questions and it says, I heard, is that correct? Oh, I heard it goes. I go blah, 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 until I get a real person. I just learned. I really do. I just can't just deal with those. It's faster to just go, blah, 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 blah. I didn't understand that. Blah, 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 I didn't understand that. Blah, 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 I didn't understand that. Let me transfer you. I'm like, thank you. So,
I just hit 0 a bunch.
that doesn't, they've gotten hip to that. That doesn't always work anymore. It used to work.
Yeah.
Pound 0. Yeah. Listen carefully because the menu options have changed. Like, does everybody change these things every day? Because that's all you hear. Anyway, it's bogus just to make you listen. But the phone support is key, because if you have a problem that's a showstopper at a mission critical site, you just can't wait to fix it. And sometimes there are things that you can't fix yourself. It has to be done at the host level. And so absolutely agree with the support thing. The problem I'm having with my HostMonster accounts is due to the pandemic, everything has changed. And for the first time in like years and years and years, since I remember, they don't have full 24/7 phone support anymore. Now, during the wee hours of the night, you don't get the phone support. I'm hoping it's temporary. Temporary meaning till the pandemic thing is over, could be 2 years, but it's really concerning to me. It's very concerning enough to start thinking maybe I should look for some other hosting. Now, I don't know if Pantheon has made any changes because of the pandemic or not.
Yeah, I'm actually
it's really call centers are really, who knows what's going on now, right?
Yeah.
So people are working from home, calls are redirected. So I don't know if their normal level of support is also as good as it usually is either. But I know that HostMonster has kind of fallen down a notch. I understand why, and it's not that concerning yet, because they are open every day for all day and then into the evening. But they are not open at 3 in the morning anymore, when sometimes I actually, believe it or not, need to call support because I'm working.
Yeah,
But Pantheon, I'll have to check out Pantheon. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I found that sometimes if I called HostMonster at after midnight, they would answer the phone a lot quicker than at 7 o'clock in the evening.
And yeah. It depends on the load too. Now, the other thing on the test beds, if you have like a really large company and they've got the resources, they're probably going to have a whole separate testing environment, and it's basically going to be the site duplicated and isolated, and then they can test the updates, they can test the plugins, they can test different programming things they're doing, making sure it doesn't break before they do the live test. You can simulate that really easily low tech with just on your own. Just create another WordPress installation, and you don't. So with what you're talking about, they're probably keeping the sites basically mirrored, so that periodically it's just copying stuff over, and then they do testing. You don't have to go, for the average mere mortal, you don't really have to do that level. You can just have a separate WordPress installation with the same theme and the same plugins, and keep them in sync, not necessarily all the same pages, you don't have to, but that way at least you can test the plugins, the plugin updates, the theme updates, try different themes, try different plugins. And it's not exactly a mirrored site, it's just a testing site. But that's what I was talking about. That's really easy for anybody to do, and you don't have to have the separate server set up and the whole, that's a whole other infrastructure you need.
Yeah.
It's quite easy just to have a dummy WordPress site. And that gives you, most of what you need in terms of, does this plug in and work with this theme, and what are the issues here, and so forth. Have some of your key pages on it and test them,
One thing that's a little discouraging about their website is that the chat window on support comes up instantaneously. The email is in gigantic whatever, and you have to scroll to the bottom of the page and fish around to look for the phone number.
I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
The Pantheon website.
Oh, Pantheon. Oh, okay.
So the first thing when you open customer service is the chat window opens up and immediately wants to help you chat. And
of course, and that's probably a chatbot. It's probably an AI that asks you a series of basic questions so they can funnel you to the right person, and I hate those.
I didn't go further, but it pops up instantaneously.
Yeah.
Email us is like really dominant, and you have to go to the bottom of the page and really fish around to find their phone number.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which they don't want you to do.
It's called a filtering system. Yeah.
Yeah. It says it's 24/7, but I don't know if the phone is 24/7.
Well, see, to me, that's the key. The key to me is 24/7 phone support.
It says
That's-
they're always
She's had good
there,
experiences when she's
but it
called.
doesn't necessarily tell you that the phone is always there, since you have to look really hard to find a phone number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not, they just don't want, they want to, calls are expensive, versus, email or online chats with an artificial intelligence bot. So, yeah, that makes sense. They mostly do that. But the thing is, you found it and you can use it.
Yeah, I did find the phone number finally.
Good. Robin, is that your hand?
Yeah, it's me. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I have a question. When I go onto my normal website, the one that I have for my business,
Mhm.
what shows up often in different browsers is the map of my website, and then it clicks into the front page. And I wonder if there's any way to change that so it just goes right to is that the whole caching thing you were talking about?
I'm not sure. That doesn't exactly sound like caching. Could you explain that a little more? Can you share your screen and show us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you.
Because I can't really picture what's happening.
Okay.
And then I can take a stab at what I think it is.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Hold on a second. I'm getting the other thing up.
I mean, to me, my first hit on it from what you described sounds like a redirect.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a different, right, this is your site.
This is my own site.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're talking about when you log in, not when you go to okay, when you go to the site.
No, let's see. Let me log in. Let me just go to my login. Hold on a second.
So is the behavior different whether or not you're logged in to administer the site?
Hold on a second. I just want to go to this. Sorry for this. So, where is it? It's not doing what I want it to do. Hold on. There I is.
Hmm.
Let's see if it'll do it. Oh, it went right to that. Of course, it does it okay when it's.
Oh,
in a
so
class,
are you saying that something flashes momentarily before you go to the homepage?
Often, yeah.
Okay, that to me, my guess is it's a redirect of some kind, right?
Okay.
So depending on there could be some latency in the system between the redirect and the direct. So you can there are a number of ways you can do redirects. Now this is a WordPress site, so
Yeah.
did you build this site? Here we go. So your home page is not your domain name root, it's your domain name / services?
No, that I just took the services page. So here's
okay.
here's the home page. I was just trying to see if I could get it to happen.
It sounds like it sounds like an automatic redirect, and it's not instantaneous. There might be a microsecond delay in the redirect. The interesting thing would be to see what the page is it's loading first. But I didn't see that. See, now with WordPress,
Well, it is loading it does load my homepage first.
right. I'm guessing it's some kind of redirect. I wouldn't be too concerned with it, but see, in WordPress, you can set up a site, at pointing at one page, and then you can decide you want to change the home page of your WordPress installation to go somewhere else, and so that would generally trigger a redirect.
Okay.
That could either be a WordPress itself redirect or a host redirect.
Okay.
And so it depends on how the site was set up and whether or not you made any changes since it was set up to change your home page.
I'm thinking that I have a new webmaster who is really helpful, and she's setting up these online classes which aren't posted here yet. But I think maybe she did something to correct it because it was doing it right up until I started working with her. So maybe she's very meticulous. So I think she probably thought, oh, she doesn't need that. Let's just go right to her page, you know? So maybe.
Yeah, it's probably some kind of redirect, and you can have redirects set up in different levels. It could be on the host, a redirect. It could be through WordPress itself. Hard to know exactly what's going on there, but it's just a simple redirect, and maybe if she could bypass it, that's what she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
That
you.
happens a lot when you, let's say you build a WordPress site at a subdirectory, and somebody goes to your main directory, and then they're shifted over to the WordPress site, and there might be a flash of something, you know, or a millisecond delay. Because with WordPress, you can say, no, I want my main installation to be at the domain name root. I want my installation to be at the domain name root / Robin or something, or, you know, whatever. And then you can still keep making changes, and then you have redirects. So WordPress just says, okay, if you go there, switch it to there. And, you know.
Okay. I won't worry about it because it's
I
not
wouldn't worry
happening
about
now.
Now, if it's longer than a second, you know, then that's different. But if it's just
Oh, it was up there like, you know, 1,000, 2, and then it would flash into the thing. So it was
definitely some kind of redirect.
Okay.
And then depending on what's causing it, like if you were confused about it and you couldn't figure out what was causing it, that would be a support question for your host.
Okay.
And they could probably tell you what's happening because they'd be familiar with the system.
Okay. Sounds good.
You could actually look at WordPress and see if you have WordPress redirects on there too, which you might.
Okay. I'll check that out. I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, a redirect.
Thank you.
What other questions you got? Have you all done, I think, has everybody here done their presentation who wants to? I think you all have.
Oh, Clara.
Where's my notes? Oh, Clara, you're here. Oh, I didn't change it. Oh, I didn't do my name change. Wait, just a second.
Yes, the number is still, yeah.
I see you're here both because you have the audio different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to do a presentation or?
Yes, I like to, but I asked, please open my page from your computer, please.
Oh, do you want me to do it?
Yeah, please. Yes, because this computer, the browser is, I don't know what happened.
Okay. Alrighty then. Let's let me share. And oh, good. My video processing from this morning is done. Close that. Oh, not. I don't want to admin. I just want to go to the site. Let's go to the site. Alrighty. Is that your site?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I see. There's been some changes. Some changes since the last time we looked at this.
I have been testing some themes. This is my third. The name, my theme is called Neve. This is the name of the theme, Neve.
Neve?
So, Neve, N-E-V-E.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you can find this in Google because it's a lot of propaganda about this.
Okay. Cool.
So,
all right.
It's very simple. You can scroll down and look at I don't have a big one footer.
Oh, actually, this page, that's the whole page. It doesn't scroll. So we could look at.
Yeah. It's very short. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start here. I'll start at the top.
Yeah. This is my home, maybe. Yeah. And you can go to the header and you can click on in the gallery exhibition, my second page.
Okay, let me just. Well, that's a wild background you got going here.
Oh yeah, I cannot see this here from my computer.
Oh, you can't see what I'm seeing? What we're seeing?
Oh yeah.
You can't. Okay.
I cannot see this from my computer. Okay.
So, You want to tell me what to click on, or should I just kind of go through it?
You can go to the second page, gallery exhibition, please.
This here?
On the top, in the menu on the top.
Menu on the top.
You can read on the
It's white.
right side.
I'm sorry, I may be brain dead, but I don't see a menu on the top.
It's white. It says colored faces, and then to the right, it says first painted book, gallery, readers, bookstore, contact us.
Yes.
Where are you seeing that at the top?
It's not in the picture part, not in the background, just above it. Go up, 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 up.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Zoom thing. Okay, wait. Okay.
Say, yeah, John, do you
Sorry.
have-
Sometimes Zoom kind of weirds out, that hides things from you. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I didn't see the menu. Ah, there we go.
The second is gallery. You can click on gallery, please.
Okay, let me make an observation on the menu.
Yeah.
This is right. This is good. When if you were building your own menu, a mistake that a lot of people make is they shift things around in the menu. You never want to do that. You always want your menu to be consistent in terms of where things are on the page. So spatially, you don't want items to jump around. So even though they disappear, they don't jump around, which is good. Okay. So let's go to first painted book. All right.
Yeah, this is the first page.
All right.
The second is gallery.
I'm waiting. So here we go. All right. So you've got some gallery stuff going on here.
Yeah, this is the Phantom Gallery.
These aren't links. They're just pictures. Wait. Oh, okay. So this is the gallery. These are 3 different pictures. They're not thumbnails. Okay.
Yeah. It's very simple because everything that I change, all things change. So I spend a lot of time trying to do these things. Yes, it's very responsive. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. What's interesting about this theme is that
it's very nice. You can,
oh, okay.
You can work with
yeah, good. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Where should I click next?
Oh, readers, please. So Pittsburgh, Santa Barbara, and Plaza. And this is the exhibition. Yeah.
That's nice.
Very simple.
Simple's okay. Okay. That was readers. Yeah. That's bookstores.
Bookstores.
Are there still bookstores?
Yes, please.
We hope so.
All people know this place.
Oh, and there it is. Books, and this is in Bookshop Santa Cruz, or is this a different?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Local authors. Yes. Yeah.
It says something there, but I can't read it. Huh. Okay.
And the simple form.
That is a wild background you got going there.
I tried yesterday I tried to install the sitemap. Sitemap is a very confused item because you have to work with Google and it's not directly. I install it. You go for my dashboard. You can go to my dashboard. I don't know if you can do this. I try to install a simple sitemap using a strange name from, I don't know, it's a plugin. It's a plugin, and you can look at my plugins. And it's very difficult to install this.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at your sitemap plugin.
Yes, if you go to plugins, please. plugins, yes.
Yeah,
And you can look at the,
it's a little slow. We're just waiting here. Okay, there we go. All right, so what do you got here? The Google Analytics? No, is it the,
okay. Just feel down, please, down, the last one.
this here?
Yes. This is for the, try to install my sitemap, but this is very difficult. Almost I destroyed my page yesterday. No. Sent to you
Let's
for
take a
other
look at, let's
places.
take a look at the
I
settings.
think it's Site Tree. If you go up 3, there's Site Tree in her plugins. There's probably a
Yes.
sitemap. So there was something that looked like it was a sitemap plugin. It was called Site Tree.
Yes, I look at this, but they ask for use this first. I don't understand nothing about that.
Let's take a look at this. Okay, pages, yeah. Posts, select. And what page do you want to show your site? Tree.
It's, when I look at many YouTube,
Okay,
they describe that. Yeah.
So, okay, so it looks like all you need to do to make this work is to pick a page that you want the sitemap to appear on, or create a new page for the sitemap.
I tried, but I don't know how.
Okay, so you don't know how to pick a page or to create a new page for the sitemap?
Yeah, for the sitemap. I create the page, I put the title and try to move everything, but nothing. I only create an empty page.
So let me just take a quick look at your pages.
Yes, please.
I don't see a sitemap page that you created.
I delete because.
Okay, well, we could try creating one, or let's try adding it to one of your other pages then for now. Where's the plugin? It should be there. Let's try adding it to your contact page just for fun. And let's see what happens. Why wouldn't it? No, we'll leave it. Okay. Please set up Site Analytics to see insights. Okay, we don't need the analytics. Okay, so basically, I assume it did it. Let me just go to your contact page and see if it put a sitemap on it. There it is. Okay. So it does seem to work okay. Although I have to say, the background is a little intense for the text, but the sitemap seems to be working. So what
but
you,
I would like one page independent,
so let's,
to the contacts.
let's make a page for the sitemap itself. Okay. So what we would do, what I would normally do is, if you want sitemap on its own page, which is generally, I might have asked for it on its own page, I can't remember.
I think you did.
Did I? I should have. All pages. Oh, I wanted to go to add new. Add new. No, it's not here. Okay, so let's just add a new page.
It's at the top.
Yeah, I know it's right there, but
One might be in the trash.
so oh, we'll just add one. So Clara, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a page
Sitemap.
called sitemap. We can make it 2 words or 1 word. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And actually, I could say sitemap. You know what? We're not going to say anything. Let's just leave it blank and see what it does. So I am going to publish this page, a blank page just called sitemap. And this is normally what you do. You create a blank page and then you place the sitemap on it. Okay, so now we're going to go back and we are going to go to your plugin And what we are going to do is tell it to put the sitemap on that page instead of the contact page. What happened? Configure. What
Further
happened
down,
to?
maybe?
No, it scrolled all the way. It went away, so it must be under configure or settings. Let me try settings. Oh, it's not under settings, configure, but let's see what the settings are while we're here. Okay. Oh, look, show a home link at the top of the list. I'm going to try that. All right. Since we're all having so much fun with that home link in the sitemaps, let's see what this one does with it.
I'm going to look for that in my settings.
What'd you say, Ann?
I'm going to look for that setting in my settings.
Well, it had it here. I thought I saved the changes. Okay, so did I add it yet? No, I didn't.
Yes, no.
Install plugins. Now I guess I go to configure. Oh, dashboard rather. And then configure, I guess. Waiting. That was settings. Now we're going to look at configure. And
Any title. Oh yeah, sign up.
all right, well that I am assuming that this will do it. So now let's check that out. So oh, we didn't put it in the menu. You know what we want to do? We want to put it in your menu.
Oh yes, the sign up is in the menu.
It went
Only
in the
the-
menu. It went in
You
first.
can.
Oh, it did put it in the menu. Okay, yeah. Let's go to it.
So it's only change the.
And there it is. It worked.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth page. Yeah. Yes, I like this, but I need to move this in the other side.
Okay, but there you go.
Yeah.
Sitemap.
Oh, thank you.
Now, do you know how to rearrange? You might want to take sitemap and put it in the footer, or you might want to put it at the end of the menu.
The
Or
end,
leave it.
in the end, but yeah.
Do you know how to manipulate your menu?
Yes, because you can go to the dashboard, go to the.
Well, no. I mean, I've already done this part for you. I'm gonna, if you know how to do it, I'll let you edit the menu if you want to move sitemap. Unless you can't do it, in which case I'll help you with that. Do you need help with the menu?
Yes, thank you.
I do want you to do some of this. So let's look at what menu options you have. Is the menu part of your theme or is it a plugin?
Usually when I put in order, reorder the pages, I went to the all pages.
Well, let's see what we got here. It should let me drag these around. Add menu items. It's already in the menu. Which menu are we looking at? Add to menu. Menu settings.
I think it's different. You go to the all pages. This is the appearance. You go to the all pages.
What do you want me to do here?
Go to the pages. No, not from the appearance. Pages on the top. Go up. Pages.
No, you mean pages? Or pages should be right here. Here?
Here, all pages.
Okay.
Click on, please.
Leave site. Why does it want to log me out? Oh, right. Okay. I didn't make changes. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. So, I see. So here's your pages.
Click on in sign up, please. Click in this. Click on sign up. Click on in quick edit. Look at the order in the right side. You can see the number, put the number 6, please. Go up. Erase the 0.
Okay.
And put the number 6 and update it, please.
You got it.
That's another way to do it.
That's another way to do it. You're like a driver. I'm a driver. You're just telling me This is good. This is good.
Yeah, this is,
Another way to do it.
I spent hours looking this, this is crazy. Okay. New site. Visit site.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Time map. Look at it.
There it is. Very cool.
This is the simple way. Yeah. Yeah. I found something, but you know, my,
I have to say the background's a little intense for the text.
In this case, yes. For the site map, yes.
What
But
you
I
can
like-
do is you can, if the theme allows you to change these colors of these links, you could
Yes.
try changing them.
Yeah.
The blue doesn't
Yeah,
show up really well on the
Yes,
background.
this thing is very nice for the
Why
typography.
don't you play with your colors there so that the text is more easy to read?
Yeah.
But good, okay.
And this is color white it's easy to read in white.
Yeah,
color.
it's hard to see the blue on the background
Yeah,
color here. But
Yeah.
why don't you could play with the colors just to, see if you can get it to look a little better. But I think we solved your sitemap problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Very simple.
So we'll consider that you've done your presentation. I kind of drove.
Yes.
Let me write that down.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just a second. Let me get to my notes.
And you're gonna fix the what you call it, the feedback form?
Is that not working right? I am
Nope.
darn form. Okay. Yes. Okay, let me just finish that. Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. Yay. So all of you have done presentations. What other questions you got? What other things can we solve while we're here? This is our last session. So boo-hoo. I will miss you guys. Hopefully I'll see some of you. But anybody have any other questions or comments or thoughts? Parting
No, but
thoughts?
I did think, John, that it was a really good class for me. I mean, the beginning was a little rough, but then once it got going, it really went well, I thought.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the rough.
The very first week or so, I thought,
Oh, it was
God.
hell. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so, but it turned out to be a really good class.
I learned a lot. I think I learned
Yeah.
how to figure out things too, and problem solve and get what I needed to find
Good.
out.
Yeah, I like to focus on the skills, not, I mean, once you learn how to kind of do the basics, you can experiment and kind of figure things out. I like to get people to that point so that they can do testing and figure things out and troubleshooting, because troubleshooting is really important in all this stuff. So I tend to focus on principles and troubleshooting and techniques and things more than exactly like, I don't teach it like, okay, this is everything about the dot, you click here, I like to kind of have you have a slightly different mindset on that, because things do change with version updates and so forth. So I think it's important to understand the how things work and the why things work, rather than just that this is exactly the way things work, because that stuff changes. So in all my classes, I try to kind of give you more context than just step by step, this is what you do. So sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but I hope it worked. Yeah.
I think it worked for me because it got me past the fear to try to do anything. Once I was past that, I was okay.
Me too.
Good.
I definitely.
And even though I've been working on some sites already, I feel like this kind of has given me like a fresh set of eyes on what I'm doing. And when I go in, doesn't seem as like weird to navigate.
That's good to hear, because that is good to hear, because this is primarily a class for beginners. So when somebody comes in and is like, oh yeah, I've worked on WordPress, I said everything, I'm like, uh-oh. Is she going to be bored? Because this is really for beginners. I don't know how much detail I can get into without losing the beginners, So I'm glad to hear that, because that's always, you know, when you have a class where you have a range of skill sets from people that have never done it before to people that, oh yeah, I've got WordPress sites, blah, blah, blah. Then it's always like, this is going to be a little tricky. But it is for beginners. So, you know, I'm glad that got a lot out of it, or some stuff out of it, because
Yeah, definitely.
good.
Yeah.
And at the
And I'm
opposite
looking
end,
forward to the fall. I'm
the
in
opposite
classes
end,
for the
because I
fall.
think because the forum and also the CTC, where I had to figure out how to problem solve for others, I learned a lot doing that. And it's sort of, I think, easier to solve somebody else's problem than your own, because then you don't get locked into that. You can let go of it easier.
Well, the other thing is, and it's something Amanda just said, you can look at it with fresh eyes. So if it's your own, it's kind of like proofreading, you know, if you've done any writing, you know that you really can't, you can't accurately proof. I mean, you know, I guilty of this all the time, because I actually did a lot of proofreading in my, you know, I've done a lot of copy editing and editing. So I proof my own stuff, but you can't really proof your own stuff accurately. It's always better to have fresh eyes. When you're troubleshooting, you can get into a mindset where you just think you know what's going on. And frequently you're not right when you think, you know, you think, oh, the problem is with this, but it's really somewhere else. And that's really common in all fields, and including web design. And so the fresh eyes thing is an important concept. And sometimes you just walk away. You come back an hour later with the fresher eyes. And then, oh gosh, when I'm doing crosswords, it's the same thing. I'll be trying to figure, I can't figure this out. I put the crossword down, an hour later I come back, I look at the same clue. It's like, oh, got it. Fill in the word. You know, how many times have I done, how many times have you done that? I don't know. But the fresh eyes thing is kind of a part of troubleshooting. And I always emphasize the mindset. You want to not get stuck in thinking you know what's going on, going with fresh eyes, and start methodically troubleshooting. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Because so much of this is so much of this is troubleshooting.
Yeah.
I think that's the real value of the forum too. It's that.
And getting input from other people. Those are the freshest eyes, right?
Yeah.
And also learning to do just one thing at a time too. Because I tend to just like want to go in, but this, it's like you really have to do one thing and then save, and then do one thing and say, I can't even remember how many pages I've lost. I've sit there for an hour and a half or something, and it saves, but then like something happens, and then the entire page that I created is just vanished into WordPress darkness.
The WordPress
I just
black
put
hole.
yes, and I just put the computer down. I mean, it's happened more than several times.
Then you know it's time to take a break.
Yes, you just put it down and walk away.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I lost a page and I recovered it in the trash, and that really helped me a lot, because I thought, oh great, I can get it back, you know, because I had done this whole page and it was all done, and I hit the trash button instead of the other one.
Oopsie.
Yeah, the trash didn't hurt right away.
And for a moment you were like, oh no. And then you
I was like, oh no, it's already midnight and I'm really tired and I really don't want to have to do this page over. So anyway, yeah. But I saved it and it worked. So
yeah, we've all been there. Yeah.
thank you, John, for all your expertise. I'm amazed at the breadth of knowledge you have about all this. And
That's just from being older, you know.
yeah, I do know.
Seasoned. You're seasoned.
But I really appreciate
seasoned
it.
vet.
Seasoned.
Yeah, thanks to all the questions from everybody, because I learned a lot. I mean, I learned more confidence, I think, which I wasn't confident at all about this when I came in. So. Oh,
good. That's kind of like what Katharina said. You get past the fear of, you know, and, you know, computers in general are like that. Well, I'm lucky in that I kind of, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Not grew up with the internet, but I was kind of here at all stages.
Yeah.
I
early.
I was the first employee at Cruiseo when they were just kind of getting off the ground. And so I watched and was part of a lot of the growth of the web and the internet. And I mean, I remember answering tons of questions like, can you explain what what is the internet? I hear about this internet thing, you know, and from that point on, I was like, so, you know, I was our original web design class, which was, you know, HTML in the early mid 90s, was one of the first HTML classes in the state, in the community college system. And that was when HTML was really simple.
Weren't you the geek of Geek Speak?
Imagine there's no CSS at all. Hasn't been invented yet.
I
Right.
remember
And HTML has headlines, paragraphs, list items, images, and tables.
I remember
That's
that.
basically it.
Weren't you the geek of Geek Speak?
I've been on Geek. You mean the radio show Geek Speak?
Yeah. Weren't you there?
No, I've been on Geek Speak. I used to be the Mac geek.
Okay.
Actually, the term Geek Speak. Okay, so we were in the Crusader office playing with looking at different domain names whether they're available, and I think I came up with Geek Speak. I said, let's try Geek Speak, and then Chris, the owner of Crusader, was like, yeah, and registered Geek Speak. And then that grew out of that. So I was I was the one that came up with Geek Speak as a domain name. But and then Chris and Mark, who's one of the other first employees at Crusoe, started the radio thing, Geek Speak, and then some of the KUSP people kind of took it over from there. And I used to be the Mac geek for a while, because they were all like PC people, not the Mac person. So I've been on Geek Speak, done the Geek Speak thing, but I wasn't the original Geek Speak. So yeah, so so my background, I have a lot of background in this stuff, and I also from publishing. So I got into computers from publishing, right? And so that's how I knew Beth Regards from way back, because I don't know how many of you were in Santa Cruz in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Worked for Grade A Graphics. Do you remember
oh
that?
wow, that goes way back.
Oh my
I was
God.
their
Yeah.
camera operator.
Wow.
Does that take you back?
Yeah. Do you remember stat cameras?
Oh yeah, I ran the stat camera.
Big giant stat cameras.
Oh well, the stat camera was small to the thing that went into the whole room. They had a camera that went into the whole next room. That was gigantic.
Yeah, I remember those. So if you had to get a halftone made, you had to go to the stat place.
Well, well, for that giant camera that went in the other room, we did those little tiny things for the soldering for the whole little wiring things.
Yes, yeah, it's just, yeah, I remember all that stuff. Yeah, so light tables, waxers, page maker, the original laser printer, that was a breakthrough. We could stop using the typesetter. That was a whole breakthrough.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
It was huge. Yeah.
So you can see why I love all those fab toys.
Yeah, of course. And I really hope there's a way we can save it. The budget cuts are going to be massive. So.
I have a stat camera in my garage somewhere. It's a monster.
Well, you could sell that on eBay for $1.50, or hang on to it for 100 years, and that'll be really valuable as an antique.
Right.
Yeah, boy. So, what other parting words do you folks have? I think we'll wrap this up.
Is the help forum gonna disappear today or something?
Oh no, I can leave that up for a while if you want.
Okay.
I can leave that up for like, half the summer, probably like July is when I'll start, tearing stuff down to rearrange it for the future semester.
That'd be cool.
So I'll just leave that up for a while. And your sites, again, we'll leave those up for a while. For those of you who want to migrate your site, I'll have to work with you individually, and hopefully that'll work out. That's a little bit of a deal, but not too bad. So we'll leave your sites up. If you want your site to migrate to other site, just send me email. We'll have to go through a little bit of a process. Shouldn't be that hard.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
But in the meantime, make sure you have all your material. You should always have everything backed up. Have all your images, have all your content, just in case, because you know, web server disks die too, and you know, everything is transitory. So make sure you have all your original materials, because I don't want to be. Let me put it this way: I'm not responsible if something happens to the web server and we can't recover your materials. You are responsible for the maintenance of your own materials.
Okay.
That said, I don't anticipate any problems, but you know, you never know with computers. So make sure you have all your stuff.
Who does the brain backup?
Huh?
The brain backup.
The brain backup. Yeah.
In these days of brain meltdown.
Yeah, that's a futuristic. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, brain dump. Right now, the term brain dump is just metaphorical, but someday maybe it won't be. I don't know.
A question.
Yeah.
So what happened with our files in this designcruise.com? We have to erase the page, or what happens with our page?
With
right
your
now?
site, well, we're
Yes.
just. I'm just going to leave it where it is. And you know, I told you guys I would leave it as is at least through June, and in July I will start the process of rearranging everything for another semester. So through June everything is fine. If you want to migrate it, then talk to me before the end of June, and we'll work that out.
So just in case all files, delete the files, our page, everything.
Well, I'm going to leave it the way it is. If you want to play with your site, feel free. But what I was saying is make sure you have all your materials, like your photos and so forth, because if something happens to the site, I don't want to be responsible for you losing your original materials. So make sure you have all of your original material somewhere else, you know, especially like your photos and stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
But there's always a danger. You see, all these sites are on a host monster account set up just for the class, right? So nothing else is on this account except for your websites. But if one of your sites has a security issue and goes rogue, it could affect the other sites on the server. So I'm not going to be able to control that, because I'm not controlling what you're doing on your site. I'm not controlling your plugins. I'm not controlling your updates. You are in control of that. I'm not going to play with it. I'm not going to do updates for you. I'm not going to do any changes for you. They're your sites. So just be responsible. And you know, if you got plugins you're not using, take them off. Keep your updates going. And if you want, let me know and I'll just delete your site. You can, of course, delete all your content at any time. So if you feel like you don't want your stuff up there, then just delete it. Delete all your content and it won't be there. I'll eventually take the site down anyway, so all you have to do is go in and delete your content and it's gone. So you can, in effect, unpublish your site. You can delete the materials. You can make it invisible to the internet. You could wipe it out completely. I'm not going to control that. You're in control of your sites. I'm not going to play with them. All I'm going to do is at the end of June, I'm going to just get rid of them. So the rest is up to you. If you want to continue to use them and have fun with them, go ahead. But the caveat is that you are on a shared server with other people, and you know, there are some security risks with that. So just don't do anything. Don't think of your site as mission critical or anything. These are educational sites for your projects. They're not meant to be like long-term sites. So there's a caveat there. So, you know, just be aware, you know, normal security precautions, you know, take them, but anything can happen. So
I'm backing up the CSS as we speak.
there you go. Yeah. Now, I don't know in the future how this is going to work out. And unfortunately, at Cabrillo right now, all the talk is of shrinking and not expanding. So everybody's going to be trying to hang on to their programs. Everybody's going to be trying to hang on to their courses. I'm talking about faculty and departments. We probably, to create new courses right now is going to be very challenging because we're already figuring out what we can cut. So anything new means cutting even more. But at some point, I would like to do another WordPress class that's not for beginners, where we get into developing child themes, and, you know, a lot of CSS work, that kind of stuff. You know, customizing themes a lot more than just your basic customization. I would love to do a class like that. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's in the cards in the near future. But keep your ears open. Keep your eyes open. At some point, we will have some new classes. The next ones that are in store for digital media, we have an accessibility, designing for accessibility. That'll be an 8-week class. A lot about Section 508 and accessibility and usability issues. We will also have a UX UI class, that's user experience, user interface design class. Those two are in the works. An advanced WordPress class is not in the works right now. But
When you offer it, could you offer it online? I think for the new world, it's probably easier to do online than in person anyway. And also, the problem I've had with the WordPress class in the past has been like right smack in the middle of the day, and it overlaps with everything else on campus and makes it not be able to be taken.
so your advice is online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go back and watch it at any time you want.
Yeah, we have in digital media, when we have offered the same class in 2 sections, one face-to-face and one online, the online one generally fills a little bit more, not a lot more, but a little bit more. But then there's also a function of when a class is offered day versus night. You offer a class in the day, and some people say, I work, I can only take it at night. You offer a class at night, and the people who are more students rather than like people who are already working and taking a class on the side, they don't like them at night, they want them in the day. So we always have that problem. And then you offer online only, and some people say, I just don't do online, I don't like online, I just prefer not to. And you offer in the daytime or nighttime in face-to-face, and people say, you know, I'd rather take it online. So whatever we do, you can't please everybody unless you have multiple sections, and we can only do that with a few classes like DM1. So
But isn't
just
the,
realize we have limitations on those.
But you've been offering it from like 10 to 2 or something like that. And if you take a 1 to 4 class or a 9 to 12 class, you absolutely can't take those digital media classes that are smack dab in the middle of the day.
Right, you're talking about non-online classes.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's tough. It's
in
tough
both-
because everybody has different considerations, and then you have the 3 hours a week thing, which some people find very difficult, especially a night class after you've worked all day. Hey, that's difficult for teachers too, by the way. But the alternative sometimes is like, oh, 3 one-hour classes a week, and then the driving back and forth on Highway 1. People go, I can't do this. Highway 1 is a mess. I mean, so we try to weigh all these factors, but it is really a jigsaw puzzle. So it's just we can't fit everything together in a way that
in
works.
the post-COVID world, this is a great format.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of pluses and minuses to what's happening, mostly minuses, but there's some pluses, and there's a great fear in education in general that some of these changes may be more permanent than some of us want them to be.
yeah.
Whether you're talking about education or industry, you know, a lot of companies are realizing, hey, we can save costs by having our workers work at home.
Yeah.
That's a double-edged sword, right? And the same with education. Hey, we can be more efficient with this, blah, blah, blah. And the problem is that not every modality works for every kind of student. And so it's just it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. The main problem with online with Cabrillo is that, okay, so I'm giving you a little window into something behind the scenes stuff that we do at Cabrillo, talk about, but it's a tremendous, tremendous equity issue. It's very, very hard. It's harder for students who don't have nice new computers, high-speed internet connections, a private room at home to do their work. You know, the software needs, there are lots of reasons that online stuff just doesn't work for a certain demographic, and it just happens to be the demographic that we really need to serve as a community college. So this is very tricky stuff to balance. And so while from the viewpoint of probably most of the people right now in this quote room, online has all these advantages, there are a lot of people that aren't here right now in this class right now, specifically because online doesn't work that well for them. So you know, we're a little more privileged in that sense, and I think it's important to understand the privilege of being able to do well in an online class. And it's easy to forget that we have that privilege. You know, we have a privilege that a lot of people in our community don't have, and it's much more difficult for them to participate in the same way. There's a lot of factors in trying to figure out how to schedule classes. It's very, very complicated, and so it's a difficult time for everybody, especially with all this forced online stuff now.
I think it's showing up. All of those problems. The COVID thing is showing it up so like, starkly, you know. So
It's exposing all the inequalities.
right.
Yeah, it is. It is.
As a student, I would say though, if you get a good online teacher, it can be as good, if not better, than an in-person class. But if you get a really, really bad teacher, and I've had some online bad teachers, it is much worse than a bad in-person experience.
Well, that's the same whether it's online or face-to-face, right?
But I think it's worse.
We like to think that the teacher does make a difference in education. Yeah.
It's almost like that instructor's not even there, and you're being taught by a book or a video. And so it's worse than a bad in-person teacher, whereas some teachers are phenomenal online, and it's like a really good experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of, what do we call them? Course in a can stuff. I don't know if you remember, but we used to have many years ago, we used to have a real estate program at Cabrillo. I don't think we have it anymore, do we? I don't think so.
Do remember that, yeah.
We had a real estate program, and there were one or two real estate instructors, and they just used like a course in a can, where you know you basically make your students buy the textbook from Thompson Media or whatever, and it comes with a textbook and a CD. And all you as a teacher, it's a package where all your tests are all there, and you got your online workbooks for the teacher and your answers to all the homework, and it's a complete course in a can. And that was very popular for some reason in the real estate courses way back in like 80s or 90s, or actually the 90s and 2000s, I should say, the 2000s. And there was a lot of talk about that. So it's complicated.
I had an art history class like that, and that's what I meant about the worst class I've ever taken.
Yeah.
The textbook actually taught the class better than the instructor did.
Yeah, I actually, for a long time, I tried different textbooks for different classes, and then to be honest with you, I just found that the textbook kind of got in the way from what I wanted to. I would rather teach what I want to teach the way I want to teach it, and the textbook I didn't want the textbook to be the master of my course. And also, I didn't see a need to make people spend money and buy things because the textbooks were so expensive. I mean, like, they're so overpriced. Yeah. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just not going to use textbooks.
So if anybody wants a great online class, the jazz appreciation class is terrific.
Cool. I like it.
He is really good. I mean, I've never had such good feedback, even on essay quiz questions, within hours or minutes of when you submitted it.
Nice.
I gotta go, friends.
Yeah, I should wrap this up. I need to be respectful of your time. We got to go.
I just want to say something, John. I really, really appreciate the way you taught this, because I've had a couple of other experiences with taking WordPress classes. Well, I took a WordPress class in person through the extension And also I've tried to learn a lot about it online by looking at YouTube stuff or tutorials, or even WordPress beginner. I never could figure out anything about troubleshooting. One of the things that's really great about the way you taught it is that you help people on all different levels equally, and that was really wonderful.
Oh, good. Okay, glad to hear it. Thanks. Well, you guys have been great as students, and your sites are really fun. Really enjoy. Am I still sharing? Why am I? Oh, wait, I need to stop
It's
sharing
still
here.
sharing and recording.
There we go. Now I can see your faces big. Hi. So you guys have been great. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you in the future. I hope you take more classes. And if not, be safe, have fun. And again, if you want to migrate your site, just contact me, next week or something, not today. And we'll work on that. But other than that, if I don't see you, be well. Thank you.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
I learned from
Bye.
everybody else too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.